Hey guys, gotcha Rasta here. I just did a quick early impressions on Silver Palace. I recorded the original audio at work, so it's going to sound a little bit scuffed, so please forgive me for that. But I just want to let you guys know that the footage itself has spoilers. I talk about the game, but I don't really mention a lot of spoilers. I don't think I mentioned really any spoilers at all, but just as a warning before you go into the video. So please, if you do like this, let me know. Like and subscribe, and please just enjoy my first impressions about Silver Palace. Cool.
Hey guys, gotcha Rasta here. I am at work, but I had a little bit of downtime, so I figured I could try to record a video, get some audio going in. Anyways, Silver Palace. It was in the closed beta test. I got to try it. I played all the way through story chapter 1. I believe that's all that's available in terms of story. My characters are level 30. I have some characters at level 30. I've done a big chunk of the content. I've pretty much tried to engage with every kind of piece of content that I can. And I just want to give my initial thoughts on the game. So, overall, the game is actually pretty fun. I don't know what the devs really have planned for this game, but at the very least, I can say that I'm intrigued. There are definitely some points that I'm not too sure about quite yet, but this is the closed beta, so there's still a lot of things that can change. Nothing is permanent and set in stone. So, real quick, I just want to mention a few things that I do like. The story. Normally in gacha games, I don't really read stories anymore, just due to the fact that I've read so many different JRPG stories, and they have a lot of moments that are similar to other moments, so you can kind of predict how things will go. Or just overall, I just read so many stories that now all these gacha stories kind of feel the same to me. But I will say, as I started getting near the end of chapter 1, the story did start to actually intrigue me a little bit. And I was a little disappointed that that was as far as I could go in terms of story. I don't think there's a chapter 2, only because there's no indicator that I need to reach a certain player level to see the next part of the story. So I believe that everything else at this point in time is closed beta endgame, not legitimate endgame of the full game. Just like for the closed beta, what they have in store, or what they gave us just to kind of try out. But I did enjoy the story. I thought it was cool. The environments are really pretty. I like the aesthetic. It kind of gives me, you can maybe say Clair Obscure, but not quite. But the city itself is pretty large, and there's a lot of cool architecture, visually appealing. They're using, I believe, the Unreal Engine. So it's not bad. It's not bad. I do wonder how they will optimize this game for phones, because just in the modern day and age of gacha gaming, people play on their phones. And if your game is not good on the phone and it's only good on PC, sometimes that's not good enough. So I do wonder what they'll do with that, but we'll take some time. I'm not really harping on them about that at all, really, because again, this is a closed beta test, so there's still a lot of game left to develop. I will say, some of the English voice actors, I enjoyed. There are definitely a few misses, but let me say it again. There are definitely a few misses. I'll say the female MC of the game, I don't really like her voice actress. I feel like she's just reading the lines. I feel like she's not really conveying emotions. But if you compare some of her lines or some of her voice acting to, say, Lauren's voice actor, he, I think, does a phenomenal job. I think he conveys emotion. There's just like an urgency in some of his lines. There's a fierceness in some of his lines. I do enjoy his voice actor. So there's a little bit of like, some hits and some misses, but some of the English voice actors for sure are hitting it out of the park. So I do like that, and I do hope they continue to do so. The game gives you the mount. It gives you a mount right away. Now, hopefully this is not something that's only for closed beta, but because the city in itself, even though we only have a small chunk of the map to explore, the city is pretty big. So having to just manually run, like where you hold shift and you run, trying to do that around the city, even though it does have a few, like it has a few parkour mechanics, like, and you have like zip line mechanics and things like that, it still would make traversing the town kind of slow. You can get teleporters around the city, but I like the fact that the mount is available right away. I think that's really cool. I think riding the mount is cool. I like that the mount can fly. I like that the mount can drift. You can drift with the mount. That's pretty cool when traversing the city. Overall, the mount is a positive. Sometimes a little hard to control, but it's like riding a real horse. So you just will adjust. It's pretty fine. The characters look really cool. I like the designs. I feel like some of the constabulary, or that's what they would call the police, I guess, of this town, of this city, they look like they were designed by Hugo Boss. Like, you know, to some that could sound a little alarming. It just depends if you like that aesthetic or not. I know there was a VTuber, Zentria. I don't know her name too well. I just saw her name on Twitter, but she made her VTuber model in a similar aesthetic, and she got a lot of flack for it. So I know there are some people who are just kind of sensitive about that style of clothing. I do wonder if it will be a point of contention. I'm not sure. Probably not. Even the fact of me bringing up this random VTuber is probably just like irrelevant. But it is something that I did think about because I happen to see the drama, and I saw that some people just are like, yes, certain, like Japan, they have this, they love the aesthetic, but to some people it may give, World War II Germany vibes. I don't want to really say anything too crazy. I don't think I got flagged, but we can be safe here. But you know what I mean. It looks like there's a really cool potential variety types. There are dudes in the game. So you have male characters, you have female characters, you have lollies. I'm not a lolly person myself, but they are there, you know. They're cute. They don't delve into gooner lolly territory. I would call that out if I saw it, just because I'm voicing my opinion, and I wouldn't want that in this game. I feel like it has no place in this type of game. I think keeping to its aesthetic will do it a lot of favors. You know, Cinderella, you know, she has kind of like her burnt dress and everything like that, and some characters do have, you know, they got a boba. You know what I mean? You're gonna get some cool, nothing too fan servicey, but it's a little bit there if you look for it. But overall, the aesthetic is cool. Generally, gacha games can sometimes tend to lean into the gooner side of things a little bit. They gotta sell skins. Oh God, I'm yawning, bro. I'm at work right now, man. I'm working a lot, but you know, here or there. Yeah, so a lot of different character types, pretty cool. The detective aspect of the game is cool. I like it. I like that our MC is a detective. I like running around. I like roaming around. That seems pretty cool. I enjoy that part. I do want to mention, this is kind of a negative, but I want to mention it while I remember it. There's a part in the beta where you had to sneak around the guards in the constabulary in their building to find some evidence. And in that part, you're sneaking around and they show you these white safe areas that you can kind of hide behind when you're traveling to get to this evidence. And those safe sections shouldn't have even existed, because you could walk around practically the entire map. The NPCs don't turn around. They just stand there. Now, maybe because it's a tutorial style level where you don't want to make it like difficult, but if you're going to have sneaking mechanics, there needs to be a little bit more. Like, you have the ability to kind of like, you can open chests and collect items from a range because you have like this focus. I don't want to call it an attack, but like you have this focus ability that allows you to grab items and grab chests from a small distance away. I think you should implement that in the sneak mechanics. I think it'll be very fun. I think people will find it fun. It just adds a little bit of depth, because why add safe areas to sneak around when they literally don't matter? Maybe if I remember, I can put a clip of me literally ignoring a section of the map where it's highlighted and just walking fairly close to the NPC and not getting detected. And it was just like, why even have these safe areas if they're not even usable? But that's a negative. But overall, I'm trying to talk about things that I like. That's mostly, I like the combat. I think the combat has potential. Did I talk about the combat? I don't remember. but just in case, I'll talk about it here. No, I didn't, but it's fine. Whatever. I will edit this into some type of way that makes sense, or not. Who cares? The combat, I think, has potential. When you're in combat, you have a team of 4 characters. And when you swap to different characters to play, if you have the available resources, they do what's called an ambush attack. And that ambush attack is similar to the intro skill for Withering Waves, where your character will come in and do that special attack. When the combat is flowing, it feels really good. It feels clean. The characters feel very impactful. I do think, well, I'll say somewhat impactful. I think they can dial up the impact frames, and the bullet like the bullet impact. That could be dialed up, I think, a little bit. Some of the abilities look like they should hit harder than they do. Not just off damage, but just off impact. So I think that could be worked on. But then in the similar vein, when you don't have the intro skill or the ambush attack available, sometimes the combat feels kind of clunky. You know, I should say the combat feels inconsistent. Sometimes it feels really good, and sometimes it doesn't. I don't know how you fix that, but I think that it's a cool idea in general. I think it's fun. I just needs a little bit more. One suggestion I kind of thought of when I was mulling it to myself was in Zenless Zone Zero. Let me fall back. But in the game, you have a parry mechanic. The dodge button and the parry button are the same. If you dodge at the correct time, the dodge becomes a parry. But if you don't, then the dodge is just a dodge. That's fine. One button, cool. I think that if you don't have an intro skill available, when you swap to a character, if you swap to a character during the parry timing, not the dodge timing, but the parry timing, it'd be cool if you're swapped in character with parry. So it kind of gives you ZZZ vibes where you're timing your swaps, but it would add a little extra layer there to the combat. I think that'd be fun. But that's just an idea. But overall, yeah, combat's pretty cool. The story was actually fairly interesting near the end. The environments look really cool. The English VAs, some of them are really, really good. Some are a miss, but I think there are some that really do knock it out of the park. Mount right away, awesome. Characters look cool. Variety of different characters, and I do like the detective aspect. Things that I did not like, the loading screens. You get a lot of loading screens. I don't have the greatest PC in the world. It's definitely not top end, but it's definitely not low end. So we can say a mid-end PC. And me playing on the PC with the amount of loading screens that I saw just made me wonder, how is this going to look on the phone? You know, it's just, as a gacha gamer, I play a variety of different gacha games from time to time. I rotate through gacha games from time to time. If something's a new hot gacha game, I'm going to play it. Sometimes I play it on PC and sometimes I play it on phone. I do both, just depending on where I'm at or for whatever reason I need to. The amount of loading screens I'm seeing, at least on PC, I feel like would not fly on mobile. On mobile, I might have more of a problem with it because, I don't know, maybe you're trying to, you do something, you click a screen, you load, but then the load takes, 15 seconds maybe sometimes. Maybe like closer to 10. I'll say maybe about 10 seconds max. 10 seconds max, but it does happen. So I think that the loading screens kind of can be a bit cumbersome. I don't know how you fix that, but that's something I think that could change. Again, the combat still could use some polish. It's there, but it's not quite there yet. I don't know what you guys need to add, but please just like expand upon a little bit because there is potential there. I gave them positive points. Having them, even though I gave them a positive point for having the mount available right away, sometimes traveling the city can still feel a bit clunky. When you start adding verticality into the equation, sometimes reversing can feel a little meh. There's no ability to jump in the game. You can vault over small ledges, and like if you vault over a ledge and you're in the air, you can summon your mount to fly. But sometimes I just found myself, just having not a great time traversing certain parts of the map. That just in due time. I do think that the map is okay, but in terms of verticality, I don't know how you fix this because you can't just add a jump button. Obviously, if you're not having mechanics for jump buttons, but something, I don't know what it would change within the architecture, but sometimes traversing the city does feel clunky. does feel not very fun to traverse. So, especially because like when you're on your mount, if you're in your mount midair, you can't dismount midair. So let's say I see like a grapple hook and I fly to the grapple hook. I can't dismount and then activate the grapple hook to like go there. So certain parts of that, I think maybe you can expand upon that, or just adding the ability to dismount while in midair, so then I can do midair shenanigans. That would maybe help. But I don't know. Um, oh, the camera. The camera sometimes is too close. I don't need it zoomed out, but if you're going to do the over-the-shoulder camera angle, I think it needs to be a little bit further back. I'm thinking like God of War 3. If anyone's played God of War, maybe if I'm not too lazy, I'll find a clip, but we'll see. But if you think about God of War, I think that camera is a good kind of indicator, because the combat is a little bit similar, where you have enemies that can attack you from out of your field of view, and it gives you an indicator. But in God of War, when you're doing the combat and you're surrounded by enemies, some enemies can attack you out of your field of view, but it will give you an indicator, similar to Silver Palace. And in Silver Palace, I feel like sometimes the camera's just too close. You try to react and you do the best that you can. You can adjust the sensitivity if you play on mouse and keyboard, which I did. But sometimes, like, I don't know, sometimes the camera's just too close. It's too close to the point where, like, sometimes I can't see. It's hard for me to see enemies right in front of me, just because, like, they may be a large model. Like, you have the werewolf models, the werewolf enemies, and they're really tall. And sometimes, depending on the character and just where you're looking at the time, you might not see them telegraphing an attack just because of the way the camera operates. I think it's sometimes just too close. So I would like to see the camera. I like to see that change as well. Oh, there are it's a cool mechanic, but also one of the cool mechanics that I think exists. One of the things that I think is cool is when you traverse a city, sometimes you will detect that there are hidden hostile enemies present. They will look like a human, but you will have this kind of scanning ability that allows you to see that this person is not quite human, and then you can attack them, and after you attack them, they turn into a monster, and it activates a random battle. It was cool at first. I think the aspect is cool because you're like fighting these mobs, but the mobs don't give you a lot. There's not like I'm not sure the incentive to fight the mobs outside of maybe a mission. So outside of maybe the mission, like maybe like a quest where you want to fight hidden mobs, but I don't understand outside of questing why you would fight them. They give you a little bit of currency, but like, is it just like a farming mechanic? If so, it just doesn't feel maybe worth it. It's cool at first, but then eventually I'm just gonna ignore. Like I find myself just ignoring finding the enemies because let me fall back a little bit. Sometimes when you fight them, it's because they do lock a chest. You have chests in the overworld that are hidden behind. You have to fight the hidden mob. That's fine. That's just an unlock mechanic. It's an exploration mechanic. You fight these mobs. It's an overworld mechanic. It's an exploration mechanic. That's fine. That's normal. That's things we've seen in games before. It makes perfect sense. I just don't see the reason to fight the mobs outside of those events, because they don't give you a lot of resources. Does it have to give you a lot? No, but maybe a special drop. Something to where when I see the mob, it makes you want to actually fight them outside of maybe getting a chest. That is something I would like to see. Let's see, things to mention. The real estate system, I'm not sure how it'll work out in the long run. It's just in closed beta test. And then when you open up the pizza shop, I got a bunch of currency and I just started buying properties. I don't think I bought every property because I don't think they give you enough to do every property, but you can buy a lot of properties. I do think it's funny that you become like, you're like this cop. You're essentially a detective and who kind of does her own thing, but then I can also become like a real estate mogul and like buy up the whole city. I don't know. I just think it's like some high aristocrat, like funny, fun joke somewhere. There's a joke in there, like a political science joke somewhere in there, but I'm not the type of guy to find it. Someone else will. And when they will, it'll be funny, but maybe they'll give credit to me for finding the origin of the joke. I don't know. I'm just yapping at this point. Forgive me for yapping. But I think the real estate thing will be kind of cool. It looks like it's just going to be like the normal mechanic that brings you in currency during your day-to-day business. Cool by me. I'm not against it. It's fine.
So those are the kind of things I like and I dislike about Silver Palace. Overall, my thoughts are I think the game is fun. I think the game is cool. I think I see potential in the game. I think the story also has potential. Having the sleuth mechanic kind of gives me a little bit of Persona vibes, not quite, or even Sly Cooper vibes, but it's cool. I like detective aspects. I think that the game does a good job of kind of holding your hand through it, because there are some people here who, like me, I don't really like to read. I will read like certain lines if they're relevant to the main story, but overall, if it's not voice acted, I tend to just kind of skip through everything. But overall, I do like the game. I think it has potential. I think it's fun. Detective aspect is cool. Oh, that's what I'm saying. It does a good job of holding your hand. The game does a good job of holding your hand kind of through the detective mechanics, so you kind of understand what's going on without having to fully understand what's going on. I think that's good. For the casuals, like, I understand there are some people who love a good story. They enjoy reading. They enjoy exploring the world and the lore and every aspect about it. They'll read every quest. I am not one of those people. I am the type to just, if the line is not voice acted, I am not reading it unless it's like highlighted, because then at that point you are saying that line is important. But if it's not those two things, voice acted or highlighted line, I'm not reading it. I think the game does a good job of incentivizing players to just kind of follow along with the story. I do enjoy that detective aspect. I think it's really cool. So I do think they keep that. I do hope they keep that up. So overall, that's my summary and review of the game. Easy peasy. I give it an 8 right now. 8 it's a generous 8. Maybe in another world it'd be like a 7.5, but I think the 8 is to kind of show that the game has potential, and if they stick in the direction that they're going and it can expand upon the current systems and show us something very interesting, I think that the game will do very well. I don't know if it'll be the next huge, biggest gacha game. It's really hard to put a finger pulse on that, just because the nature of the ecosystem. Sometimes a game that you don't think will pop off pops off, and sometimes a game you think will pop off doesn't pop off. So I think they are headed in a good direction. So I like to see them continue that. So hopefully they do.